Okay, for the final section of our notes, we have to go over the presidents that made it possible to go through the progressive era and fix these problems of the Gilded Age. Now, we start with none other than Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt got his nickname Teddy, gets the teddy bear named after him after refusing to shoot a bear that was tied to a tree during safari, so the legend says. But he's also one of the most amazing political figures at the time. Roosevelt is going to start as a New York State assemblyman, and he's going to try to retire to a ranch in the West after his wife had died. He goes to the North Dakota Territory, but he comes back into politics in 1889 as the New York City Board of Police Commissioner president. He's going to start his fight against the corrupt practices within the city as the Board of Police Commissioner president. He's going to get noticed for his work against the corrupt political figures, against the corrupt businesses, and that's going to bring him to the attention of President William McKinley. First, Roosevelt is going to serve as the Secretary of the Navy under William McKinley during McKinley's first term as president. Roosevelt's going to leave that position of the Secretary of the Navy to go fight in the Spanish American War, leading the Rough Riders, and that's where he again becomes pretty famous and draws the attention of the American people, becoming a figure leading the war efforts. At the end of the war, Roosevelt is going to return to politics and become a governor of New York. Now, it's important that he becomes the governor of New York because New York is where things are happening. New York is where business is taking off. New York is where we see a lot of corruption at the political level as well. So he gets the name Progressive Governor of New York because he's really going to try to clean up the city. He's going to try to clean up big business practices, those unfair labor practices. He's going to try to take care of the political machines that existed in New York as governor. And because of his actions as governor of New York, he is going to be chosen to run with McKinley in 1900 as McKinley's vice president. Now, big business put Roosevelt in the position of being the vice president to McKinley because remember, we watched that clip where in the election of 1900, big business such as Rockefeller and Vanderbilt and Carnegie come together and they pay for McKinley's campaign and they get him to win. And they chose Roosevelt as his vice president to kind of put a muzzle on him because vice presidents at this time were not very active. What big business didn't anticipate was the fact that McKinley would die. He was assassinated just months into the presidency, and then Roosevelt becomes president. Roosevelt is going to use the White House as what we call a bully pulpit in order to speak out against the practices of big business and be a very active president and protect the interests of the people. The term bully pulpit is coined by Roosevelt, referring to his office as a bully pulpit, the White House as a bully pulpit, because he says it's a terrific platform to advocate my agenda. Now, the word pulpit is literally a platform at a church where a preacher delivers his sermon. So he says the White House is my place to deliver my sermon to the American people against big business. When Roosevelt becomes president, this was during a time where Congress was really running the show. Congress, who was run by big business, was running the show, not the presidents. But Roosevelt is going to change the office of the president by saying, workers are being abused, and if they continue to be abused, we are going to see a violent revolution in the United States. Therefore, we need to stop listening to big business and start listening to the people within our country who are doing the hard work. Teddy is going to get the name Trust Buster. He is going to be able to successfully use the Sherman Antitrust Act, which was the only tool the presidents had when he comes into power in the early 1900s. Because remember, the Sherman Antitrust Act that we talked about last time isn't going to be passed until 1919. The Supreme Court, up until Roosevelt's presidency, typically sided with big business, not allowing for the Sherman Antitrust Act to be used. Roosevelt is going to take on J.P. Morgan in that case, dust those cobwebs off that we talked about, U.S. versus Northern Securities, that railroad company. Roosevelt is successful in breaking up that railroad monopoly, earning himself the nickname Trust Buster. Roosevelt is going to become famous for categorizing these monopolies, these trusts, as either good or bad. He's going to say businesses could be positive when they practice fairly, and those good trusts he is going to want to guide using the legislation. But the bad trusts, who are going to jack up the rates, exploit the consumers, exploit their workers, those are the ones that he's going to go after and bust up. Those are the ones that he is going to attack. So he kind of plays both sides. He says, monopolies could be good when they practice fair labor practices, when they help consumers. But if you are bad, you will be broken up. Teddy's also going to take a unique view with the workers. In the past, presidents had used force to end strikes. President Hayes used the military to end the Great Railroad Strike in 1877. Grover Cleveland ended the Pullman Strike in 1894 using federal force. For the first time under Teddy, this is going to change. In 1902, coal miners in Pennsylvania went on strike. They were demanding better pay, and their strike is going to draw the attention of the president because we were heavily reliant on coal power at this time. Roosevelt is going to sit down and meet with the miners' union and the owner of the mines to try to negotiate a settlement. What Roosevelt realizes when he sits down with both of these leaders is that the workers really weren't in the wrong. It was the mine that was in the wrong. So at that meeting, Roosevelt is going to threaten to send in federal troops, but this time he says these federal troops that I send in are going to come with federal employees, and they are going to take your mine, and you are no longer going to own your mine. The workers are going to get what they want. It's just a matter of, do you want your leadership to stay in place? So Teddy's interference here on the side of the workers forced the mine owners to give the workers the pay raise they were asking for and the 9-hour workday that they were asking for. This is the first time a president had ever interfered in a strike, in a labor movement on the side of the workers. And this changes the whole idea of how the government can interact in these issues moving forward. So Roosevelt kind of saves the day here, stepping in on the side of the workers and changing this path and saying, no, the government doesn't just blindly back big business anymore. If what the workers are asking for is reasonable, then we are going to help the workers. Roosevelt is also going to have what's called the Square Deal. This is going to be a program of reforms that are supposed to keep the wealthy and powerful from taking advantage of the poor. And we call this program of reforms that Roosevelt puts together the Square Deal. The Square Deal is going to include some of the legislation that we talked about in the last section, the Meat Inspection Act, the Pure Food and Drug Act, both being passed after the jungle to improve conditions for the consumer, to make sure that big business was kind of living up to what they said they were selling. Also, Roosevelt is going to support what's known as the Newlands Reclamation Act. This is going to encourage settlements to lands that required irrigation. So he's going to push people to go out west where it maybe wasn't as convenient before to expand the United States. Roosevelt is also going to support the Sierra Club. Roosevelt was a huge proponent of saving the wilderness, and the Sierra Club is going to be dedicated to that mission. Roosevelt is also going to take steps to protect lands by declaring national forests. So he is going to he's going to sign a bill into law after protecting 16 million acres of land. He wants to protect what we have left. He saw the writing on the wall as industry was growing, as we're demolishing the lands in the United States to build more factories, to build more homes, to build more roadways, to build more railroads, and everything else that comes with industry. He says we have to protect what we have because it will run out. And he does that by declaring national lands to protect what we do have. And that's where he gets that nature of his relationship with nature, that famous relationship that he's known for as well. Next time we meet, we're going to talk about the rest of the progressive presidents. We'll move past Teddy Roosevelt and see who comes next and what they do to fix the problems of the Gilded Age. Don't forget about your homework tonight, and any questions, let me know.